I've put Mussolini at the bottom. Hanging upside down from a gas station roof, while a crowd spat on his corpse. The worst death on this list makes that look dignified. Benito Mussolini ruled Italy for 21 years as the father of fascism. When the Allies invaded in 1943, he fled north, disguised as a German soldier, with a greatcoat and helmet pulled low. Partisans recognized him anyway. They shot him and his mistress, Clara Petacci, the next day. Their bodies were dumped in Milan's Piazzale Loreto, where a mob kicked, spat on, and urinated on the corpses. Then they were hung by their heels from the roof of an Esso gas station. The man who invented fascism ended as a sideshow attraction for a vengeful crowd. Adolf Hitler died in a concrete bunker 40 feet below Berlin, while Soviet artillery shook the ground above. It was April 30th, 1945. His empire had shrunk to a few city blocks. He married Eva Braun, dictated his final political testament, blaming the Jews for everything, and then bit down on a cyanide capsule while simultaneously shooting himself in the right temple. His body was carried up to the garden, doused in petrol, and burned in a shallow crater. The Soviets found the remains, kept them secret for decades, and eventually dissolved what was left in a river. The most wanted man in human history became anonymous water. Joseph Stalin died alone on his bedroom floor after a stroke. He lay there for hours because his guards were too terrified to enter his room without permission. When they finally found him, he was paralyzed, unable to speak, and his eyes were reportedly filled with rage and terror. He died 4 days later. His body was embalmed and placed next to Lenin in Red Square. But 8 years after his death, his successor, Nikita Khrushchev, denounced him. His body was removed from the mausoleum and buried in an unmarked grave behind the Kremlin wall. An entire nation spent decades worshiping a man whose final resting place is a patch of dirt with no name on it. Pol Pot wanted to turn Cambodia into a peasant utopia by erasing cities, money, religion, and anyone with an education. Between 1975 and 1979, his Khmer Rouge regime killed roughly 2 million people. When Vietnam invaded, he fled to the jungle and continued fighting a guerrilla war for nearly 20 more years. In 1997, his own former comrades put him on trial, but it was a show trial, meant to satisfy international pressure. The sentence was house arrest. He died in 1998 of heart failure, in a bed, inside a house, never having faced a real court for a single murder. The man who killed 2 million people died of natural causes while the world watched and did nothing. Idi Amin seized power in Uganda in 1971 and ruled through terror for 8 years. He expelled the country's Asian minority, nationalized their businesses, and executed anyone he suspected of disloyalty. His secret police dumped bodies in the Nile until the river was clogged. Estimates of his death toll range from 100,000 to 500,000. When Tanzania invaded in 1979, Amin fled to Libya and then to Saudi Arabia, where the Saudi royal family gave him a comfortable villa and a monthly allowance. He spent the rest of his life swimming in his pool, playing the accordion, and eating imported food. He died of kidney failure in 2003, surrounded by his multiple wives and dozens of children. A man who filled a river with bodies died in air-conditioned comfort at the age of 78. Here's the thing. Benito Mussolini's son-in-law once said that his father-in-law's death was the most humiliating of any modern leader. The worst death belongs to Muammar Gaddafi. Gaddafi ruled Libya for 42 years. He was a flamboyant, erratic dictator who wore elaborate robes, traveled with an all-female bodyguard unit, and pitched a Bedouin tent wherever he went. During the Arab Spring of 2011, a NATO-backed rebellion finally cornered him in his hometown of Sirte. He tried to flee in a convoy, but a U.S. drone and French jets struck the vehicles. Gaddafi survived the airstrike and hid in a drainage culvert under a road. A rebel fighter found him, dragged him out by the hair, and the crowd descended. What happened next was captured on dozens of cell phone videos. The rebels beat him. They dragged him through the streets. They posed for selfies with him. Someone shoved a bayonet into his backside. He was shot in the head, and his body was displayed in a meat locker for 4 days, while thousands lined up to take photographs with the corpse. The King of Kings of Africa died in a concrete pipe, beaten by a mob, and became a tourist attraction in death. Here's what connects all of them. Dictators spend their lives controlling everything. The media, the military, the truth itself. But they cannot control their own ending. Mussolini hung from a roof. Hitler burned in a garden. Stalin died alone on the floor. Pol Pot died in his bed without justice. Idi Amin died in luxury. Gaddafi died in a pipe. Some faced the mob. But every single one died, knowing that everything they built was gone. If you want more history that the textbooks skip, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. We release new dark history countdowns every week. And tell me in the comments, which dictator's death surprised you the most? I read every comment. See you in the next one.